Welcome to Journaling with Nature, the podcast for those who want to turn curiosity into wonder, a pencil sketch into a rabbit hole of discovery, a moment of stillness into a life full of joy. I'm your host, Bethan Burton. Let's open the pages of our nature journals and explore this world together. Hello, this is episode 166. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for bearing with me for the last week where I skipped an episode because me and my whole family had COVID. Things are coming together now. I'm well again and the others are also at the tail end of it. Weirdly, this is the first time in all these years since the pandemic that I've had the virus officially. So I was out flat for about 4 days and I really missed my garden. Even though it was just outside the door, I was too sick to go out. And during that time, I was thinking about nature and where we find nature. I'm actually putting together a short course which I've been thinking about for a while, and it's going to be video lessons all about different places to find nature that aren't super obvious, not like the forest or the national park, but places close to home, places that anyone can access no matter what their circumstances are. So I'll let you know about that when it's ready. But this week got me thinking about finding nature when you're sick or when you have physical limitations. And if you've heard my story before, you'll know that I had a period in my life some time ago where I was very ill and I was at home and I was often stuck in bed for long stretches of time, and I would open the window and feel the air circulating and smell the scents of eucalyptus trees that were coming in. And there was a park opposite my house. And when I was lying down, I would look out at the sky, and watching the changing patterns of the clouds was a really relaxing thing to do. And from that window, I could also see the crowns of the trees opposite the house, and sometimes birds would fly over. And because I was lucky enough to live facing a park, if I sat up and looked out the window, I'd see the comings and goings of people in the park. Once I saw something that struck me as so quintessentially Australian, which was that the grass in the public park was a bit long, and one neighbour who had his grandkids over took out his own lawnmower and pushed it down the street, down to the park, and used it to mow a cricket pitch in the grass so that they could play. Another time while we lived in that house, we had really heavy rain for days and days, and the floodwater rose up and flooded the whole road and all the cars that were parked in front of the house. And it was quite dramatic, and I had a view of it from the window. I'm thinking now about one of my favourite nature journal educators, Claire Walker-Leslie, who often sketches from her window if the weather is keeping her indoors or if she's sketching with her family. And I'm also thinking about artist Brooke Morales, who I've chatted with on this podcast, who devoted herself to drawing a windowscape. That is, she was drawing the sky from her window every day for a year. And now, after having completed that project, she's on to her second year of the practice. Brooke is actually teaching about painting skies at the upcoming Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference, which I'll leave a link to in the show notes so you can have a look at that. So this week I spent a lot of time in bed and way too much time staring at my phone in a mindless haze, but also I spent time gazing out the window. From my current bedroom, the view is much less inspiring than the one in the previous house which had a park in front. Here I'm kind of tucked under a covered veranda, and so I mostly see the outdoor ceiling when I look outside. But if I position myself just right, I can see parts of the front garden and also a snippet of the sky, which was important for me feeling connected to the world while I was sick this week. Have you heard about the research that says that patients who are in hospital recover faster when they have access to a window? I find this such an amazing study and so telling of the human body and how we're connected with nature in ways that we can't even fully understand. So today's prompt is to be inspired by what you can see out your window. You might see the sky, or you might live in an apartment. You might see the rooftops of other houses. You might see human stories playing out around you. Whatever you can see, let that guide and inspire you. Sometimes Claire Walker-Leslie sketches the window frame as well, and it kind of frames the scene, or even a bit of what's inside the house, like her kids or grandkids looking out the window. I love how this ties the human into the nature scene. This prompt came to my mind because I was physically limited for that period of time, but that's not the only reason to be inspired by what's outside the window. Sometimes it might be that you're looking out the window at a cafe or at work, or you might be sitting with someone else in your life having a cup of tea and gazing out together. Or maybe it's raining or snowing outdoors. Windows are there to give us access to the world. What do we see out there? What's happening in the wider world? And how can we capture that in our nature journals? I'm interested to hear about what you see from your window, if you have greenery, or if you can see the blue sky, or if you have the bustle of a city, or the human comings and goings. Leave me a note below this podcast on the Journaling with Nature website if you feel like sharing. I'm so excited to share with you all the interviews that I've already recorded. I'm really looking forward to introducing you to more amazing artists and journalers. The stream of inspiring people is honestly endless, and I feel so grateful to have these conversations, so stay tuned for more interviews. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week.